Guys, I'd like the comment section to go off for this one, so before we get into today's video, let me know down below who is your favorite Star Wars comic book character, and smash that like button while you're at it too. Now, I haven't done comic reviews in years, particularly because I think the recent Star Wars runs, especially the second Dr. Aphra by Alyssa Wong, were honestly very bad. But I thought the author completely sidetracks Aphra by filling the comic with some pretty bad plots, while also making her political and personal feelings the forefront of Aphra herself. So with that being said, Aphra is still one of my favorite characters out of the Disney era, and naturally I had to check out Dr. Aphra Chaos Agent, starting obviously with issue number 1 by Cherish Chen. So let's get right into the story of the issue. And I'll go over it briefly as to avoid spoilers, so definitely stop the video here or save it for later if you don't want the spoilers, or just skip ahead to hear my thoughts and review. So let's get right into the story of the issue. So right off the bat, one of my favorite parts of the comic is that it takes place sometime after the Battle of Jakku, which is 5 years after Return of the Jedi, right? Where Darth Vader kills Palpatine and brings balance to the Force. It's nice to see Disney start to take a stab at a rather uncovered area of lore, at least for the Disney canon, and I'm hoping we'll be able to get to see some cool ties from the expanded universe. And with Dr. Aphra, I think that's highly possible, being that she goes after these cool, rare artifacts that have crazy, rich stories behind it. So right off the bat, we're reintroduced to Aphra by none other than her apparently being at her own criminal trial hearing. Kind of feels like more of a mini version of Jyn Erso's mini trial in Rogue One, in that, well, Aphra's just kind of let go of because of her reputation and testimony on behalf of someone not named, actually. So for more added context, one thing I did notice off the bat about Aphra is that Aphra does appear to be a tad older. Now, for even more context, Aphra was born 24 years before the Battle of Yavin, right? The big battle where they blew the Death Star the first time around, which places her around 29 years or older, with her looking to be about maybe in her mid-30s. And I'd also like to add that they definitely make Aphra feel beautiful and aesthetically sexy again through the artistry, because the Aphra illustrations in the second run were kind of a joke and really paled in comparison to the first run. So hats off to the artist that worked on Aphra this time around. And again, naturally, she's off to trouble again on her parole release as she fails at swiping away some high-value artifact, and she's caught, just like in Aphra fashion, but this time by members of the Department of Artifacts and Archival Goods Retrieval, Daggers for short. Now, Daggers seeks to pretty much retrieve special items with historical importance or importance of special powers. Think of Greater Europe trying to recover priceless pieces of art that were stolen by Nazis during that time period. But there's a twist here, because Luke Skywalker is looped into some sort of mission debrief with Aphra and the head of Daggers, and Aphra is obviously there and compelled to be there against her own free will, right? She's kind of like being detained in a prison setting. So as they come to know, their mission is to retrieve a gauntlet known as the Luovian Gauntlet from a shady dealer who acquires these wares by an any means necessary attitude. The rumor of the gauntlet is that it can harness the power of the Force by the wearer, and that it was tried in many experiments with success on members of the Imperial rank during the height of the Empire. So think about that. It's a glove that you could put on and become powerful just like a Jedi. It's almost kind of like the Thanos snap gauntlet, right? And I think that's something that would be very unique in Star Wars. So let's go find out what happens. So as such, Luke and Aphra team up, and for those of you unaware, this isn't their first time working together. Definitely check out the Screaming Citadel story, where Aphra and Luke have their first encounter and work together to defeat a common evil. So now as their adventure takes place here, it takes them to Daiyu City. As they manage to wrestle away the artifact from the dealer, Luke grabs it and it latches onto his arm, causing him excruciating pain, which is kind of what we thought the adverse would be, right? We thought Luke would become more powerful, but instead, the glove has a kind of negative effect on Luke Skywalker instead of the alleged power effect of having the Force. And Luke even clarifies, mysteriously enough, that the glove is not drawing the Force from him, but causing pain and drawing something else. But through some quick thinking, Aphra is able to get the gauntlet off of Luke by rerouting the power surge to a nearby droid and apprehending the dealer at the same time, hopefully for some further questioning. And it's funny because as clumsy as Aphra is, she always seems to be just as nifty when you need her to be. Now, at the end of the issue, Luke, obviously knowing Aphra's situation and worth, bargains for Aphra to basically be on kind of like a parole team with him, with no sentencing required, just that they work together. And he convinces the head of Daggers by saying that Aphra, if she were to go to jail, would just revert to the same life of crime she always had, so why not just keep her talents ends here. But there's one exception to her staying around, and it has to do with Aphra's tattoos, which we all know have some powers associated with it. Well, it's taken away by the Head of Daggers, and now Aphra is kind of just, well, completely regular human with no modifications involved, working daggers, which falls under the New Republic. Pretty interesting, which sets up a pretty interesting run to be had. But my thoughts on the comic, I thought it was actually a great way to open up a new run and reinvigorate an otherwise dormant, awesome character. I kind of like that they're bringing Aphra back to these fun archaeological adventures, or at least alluding to it, and moving away from the supercharged personal inferences of the previous author. And just letting Aphra be good old Aphra. Archaeological, clumsy, powerful, go-getter, daring character. And I think I speak for all fans when I say that Aphra was at her prime in the first run by Kieran Gillen, who, side note, I met at New York City Comic Con and had my Aphra omnibus signed by him. He's a seriously awesome guy, and if you guys are at a con, definitely stop by and say hello to him. He even drew a really cool comic-esque picture in my omnibus cover for me to remember him by. And aside from the story opening up in a positive way, I also thought the artwork was head over heels better in the second run, and again, moving back towards the first run's quality. And I think you can see a theme here through my comments. The Dr. Aphra series, though just one issue in, seems to be much closer in spirit and much closer in a return to form to the first run. And it's showing that potential, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself or too excited because it could tank, but I have a good feeling about this one, and I think we're in for a fun ride. So guys, what did you think of the issue, and what did you think about me bringing back the comic reviews and summaries? Would you like to see more? Definitely let me know your thoughts on that below, as well as, again, who your favorite Star Wars character is. So guys, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your viewership means the world to me. Stay safe out there, and until the next time, may the Force be with you, always.